Personal astrology report reading for one of my friends. We're going to start with the ascendant right here, which is commonly known as how the world perceives you on your first impression. It's a lot of your physical attributes are here. Um, your moon is right here, conjunct your ascendant. So this is going to cause you to wear your heart on your sleeve. When people meet you, they can feel your whatever emotion it is that you're feeling in that moment. It will come across very clearly, which with your moon in Virgo, that's going to tend to be that your emotions will come across more analytical and decisive, not necessarily cold, but more pointed. It's very direct emotional natures that you have that will allow for some sort of insight inside of you. You know what's going on, but you're always going to be overthinking it and criticizing it and picking it apart because of that analytical Virgo nature. But also because you have the Mars in Cancer conjunct the Sun in Cancer. So everybody knows their sun sign, which is where the sun was when you were born. But Mars is conjunct right here. So it's going to be a blended energy. Your sun sign isn't going to be just your sun sign, and your Mars sign isn't going to be just your Mars sign. They're going to be very similar, and they're going to be attached to each other, connected and blended to make their own personal energy, which in the Cancer sign, these two combined makes for a very, almost overly compassionate and empathetic individual. A person who is very guarded, but only in certain ways. They're only guarded because they do love so big that they have so many protections to protect themselves from the pain that could hurt so badly for them if they attached and it was taken away. This right here is going to affect your overall personality so much so that people who are around you can almost feel it coming from you, the nurturing and like a motherly energy where you just want to provide and take care of and make sure everything is just right for the people that you love. It's mostly family and friends that are really dear to you. And the world gets a little bit of it too, but not so much as those that are really close to you. So that's just a brief overview of the moon in Virgo conjunct your ascendant with the sun conjunct Mars in Cancer. Next, we'll go on to Venus, that is conjunct the Chiron in Gemini. So, this one I was really blown away with when I saw this chart because it explains a big wound that's around love and relationships and connecting to other people and the relationships that come with that and opening up and how others open up to you as well and how you view them opening up to you, because we got to remember that everything that we think about we attract. So if you're constantly wounded with this Venus conjunct Chiron, which is Chiron is the wounded healer, so it's representative of past lives and wounds that you've had that have collected over time and have imprinted themselves into your soul. So this right here, this whole chart, all this stuff on the inside, this is who you are, and it's like a snapshot of little pieces of your soul. And not the whole thing, by no means, because no snapshot can take all of that. No earth diagram can provide who we are to the fullest. But this right here shows a whole lot of who a person is. And so Chiron, being the wounds that we've experienced in the past, have conjuncted with Venus, and that's going to be a lot of wounds that are around communication and connection and the mind and what goes on with the mind and how we think about love and relationships and things that are of beauty and the sensitive, feminine, nurturing side of life, the beautiful things. There's a wound there where you just really can't get enough because you need a whole lot more than anything that you could ever get in this lifetime, because that's a representative of this Chiron right here. It's a wound that you're here to help heal in this lifetime. And maybe this knowledge will help you with that, to know that it's really a never-ending thirst with especially this placement, and these placements right here are really strong with that need for connection and love and affection and seeing and be seen and really coming to home with another individual. So Sun, Mars, and Venus, Mercury is in Leo. This is Mercury right here, and it's in the 12th house. So this is going to be your mind and how you communicate and in what theme you communicate the easiest and the best about. The 12th house is the theme, and that's the endings. It's the death, life, death cycle. It's all things spirituality. It's the other worlds. It's the mind that's the subconscious that goes deeper than just what's on the surface for everybody. And yours being in Leo, it's going to be a very quick wit. It's going to be a very feisty wit. Makes for someone who would be great on a debate team. I've not seen that side of you personally, but I think that would be a great significant pointer right there to know about yourself, to know that you're not one to argue with someone, and they will not win the argument, because it's going to get a little out of hand if they even start looking like they might win. This energy, this fire, it doesn't let other people win very easily. So that's Mercury. And Mercury in the 12th house makes your mind all about communication and, the deep, communicating in the deep parts of life. So you actually have a conjunction. It's not a tight conjunction, 15. It's within 10 degrees. It's 8 degrees difference right here. So it's going to make you very easily able to communicate your feelings as well, and to have a close subconscious connection to them. So if something's going on with your feelings, your mind's going to be affected, and vice versa. Okay, so we've got Pluto in the second house, which isn't good for finances. It's going to bring a lot of lifetime lessons around the theme of possessions and money and finances, security, your sense of security, your materials. You probably had some houses burned down or some materials that have just destroyed in your home, or something along those lines with money and finances and your security, because Pluto is the planet of destruction and rebuilding. It's the breaking down and rebuilding energy. And when you put that energy right there in the second house, it's going to make for some turbulent energies with your possessions and finances. So we got first, second. Your first house, by the way, is a split house. So your self identity is going to have a mixture of both energies in it. You're going to have, when people meet you, they're going to meet this analytical and decisive side of you. But as they get to know you, they're going to see this more tender, balanced, um, sweeter essence, because your first house is almost about half and half of that energy. I don't use whole sign houses because I feel like this, though it's more confusing to have split sign houses, it shows the essence of who the person is a lot more deeply, in my opinion. So, Saturn is karma, and it's the granddaddy planet. It's the granddaddy energy. It's the work and the dedication and the things that you would consider yourself to be. You wouldn't consider yourself to be the person themselves, but the Saturn energy in the third house is going to represent the, like I said earlier, grandfather energy. It's consistency, it's dedication and routine and work ethic and the ability to continue going. When you put Saturn in Scorpio with karma and the ability to continue going, it's going to represent some repeated cycles. And the theme, being that it's in the third house, is communication, which actually seems to be a common theme, because Mercury in Leo in the 12th house is going to represent that there's some subconscious work that needs to be done in the way you communicate, as well as Saturn in the third house, is that there's some karmic level work that needs to be done in the communication level. So, not just the communication with the karma on the levels of, I know this is so confusing. I'm not really wording this very, very well. Let me see how I can rephrase this. This is representative of the Scorpio energy that influences Saturn and the discipline. So, the discipline that is influenced by Scorpio is going to be more around the themes of psychological influence and trauma, and I'm coming up at a crossroads here because it's really difficult to explain how Saturn and Scorpio, both energies combined, have this certain influence, because Saturn has its own influence, and Scorpio does too. And when you mix those energies together, it makes for a very difficult to explain mix. So I might need some work in this area because this is throwing me for a loop. All I'm seeing here is that, karmically speaking and growth wise speaking, there's work to be done in the area of spiritual transformation, karmic cycles of death, and how you accept those deaths, and your ability to learn the lessons that the death life death cycle holds for you in this lifetime, and to be able to communicate that within your own self in a healing, transformative way, which is representative in the third house. It's the communication within your mind, within your own self. And the fact that you have 2 planets in the third house is also representative of the fact that there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the area of communication inside your own mind, and how you communicate outside to the world. Because traditionally speaking, an astrological chart that has an empty house shows that there's not a whole lot of work that needs to be done in that area of life. But the houses that have placements, those are areas in life that needs work. So houses that have more than one sign are exceptional signs that you need growth in that area in your chart in this lifetime. So this third house has 2. There needs to be growth there. This 11th house, which is the house of friendships and community connection and expansion for a global sense, that's one area that needs work. And the 12th house, which is the subconscious mind and the connection to how your subconscious mind works in your day-to-day life, that's an area that also is an attention to, these are like little pointers that show that there's attention that needs to be focused in this area. And with this one, it is the mind and emotions and communicating in your subconscious in an analytical and feisty way that needs to be transformed into more refined. Like silver goes through the refining pot, but gold goes through the furnace. That's what this is. When you put more than one sign in a chart, more than one sign in a house, it's a refining pot. It is, hey, pay attention to this. This is some way that needs to be refined. And it happens throughout life naturally. We don't really have any control over it. But knowing your chart helps to kind of speed it up a little bit. So right here we've got Uranus in the third house. And Uranus is representative of electric transformations, like sudden shock that just comes and shakes your world. It's representative of the new technologies that are also going on too. So your mind's going to have a lot of connection with technology, and you're going to be able to communicate very well about technology because you've got 2 planets in this placement, in this house, and one of them is one that is centered around technology. So you put it in a fire sign, which is very passionate. And then you put it, especially in Sagittarius, which is a big energy, and you put it in the third house, which is the mind. So it's going to make this energy that's going on inside of you, it's going to be very electric, and it's going to be very passionate, purposeful, and intense. And this is all going on inside of you. So it's up to you if you want to put it out there in the world. And that's because you've got, these are both retrograde. So it's a lot of inner work that's inside of you. And this one right here is Neptune. Neptune's in the fourth, which is, the fourth house is the roots and the family and how your family is connected to each other. So Neptune is the planet that it rules delusions, and it's all about the energy that you feel when you're at the deepest point under the water, that slowness and that stillness and that fogginess. So when you put Neptune in a 1 degree retrograde of Capricorn in the fourth house, that's going to make for a lot of delusions and a lot of illusions that come up inside of you that are representative to the steadfastness and the consistency of your family roots, and how the retrograde is a very going inside yourself kind of energy. So you don't necessarily always portray this to the world. This is more so inside of you for you to work on. And this energy is also a very beautiful. It's not a bad energy. It's beautiful. It slows everything down, and it gives you an ability to really pick it apart if you want to. You can really go deep. But with it being at 1 degree, 1 degree right there, that's showing that there is a lot of room for growth because it's just now starting out. I gotta hurry because this thing can only go to 30 minutes. So we've got Jupiter right here in Aquarius in the fifth house, which is going to make for a very theatrical person who has an energy of bringing a message to the world. And this fifth house is the stage of the world. So it's like how the energies around you perceive you in a worldwide kind of manner. This is how they perceive you upon meeting you. But this is how they perceive you in your day-to-day life, what you present to people, just an overall combination of who you are. That fifth house is a good general viewpoint of who you are. So you've got Jupiter in Aquarius in the fifth house, so it's going to make you very, very good at showing the world a better way, so to speak, and doing so theatrically. All right, so next, that's the only other point we've got left that I can cover right now is the North Node, which is your destiny and the area of life that you're meant to bite the bullet and just stick your feet in the ground and heads towards it. Because your South Node, which actually looks like it's conjunct Saturn. Oh, so there's a lot of lives, a lot of lessons from your past lives that are here to carry over into this life. That karmic planet right there is conjunct your South Node. Anyway, this app is Astromatrix. I took your chart and just put it on an untitled document so that nobody could see your information. But I'm going to briefly discuss this and then close it up. That North Node in Taurus is going to give you a need for serious stability. You need consistent stability. That's the goal in this life, is to lay down roots and really build an empire for your lineage around you. The energy that's connected to you is in need of you to build up with consistency who you are and dedication to that. And it's really difficult to explain all of this in one little 30-minute setting, and to be doing it on recording for all of the world to hear my blunders and messes ups. But I'm not going to edit this because I don't really know how to edit that well. But let's just go ahead and let you know that everything in this chart means something, way more than what I can briefly describe. Like the numbers of everything means something. The little R means something. Every one of these connecting lines means something. Every house has a ruler. These planets on the outside, that's what's currently happening. And there's an effect that's going on right now, big time effect for you, which the moon is conjunct your sun and Mars. So you're going to be really feeling your emotions very strongly right now, as well as Jupiter being conjunct your Venus that's conjunct Chiron. You're going to be really feeling those wounds too. There's just a whole bunch of stuff going on right now, and I can't really tell you it all in one little setting like this. So, um, I've got a friend that I've been telling about her chart for so very long that we still haven't even covered it all. And we've been doing this for years. It's just impossible to cover it all in one big chunk. Even when I was printing out charts back in the day, my printed out charts was like super long, and I still couldn't cover everything because you just can't. It's physically impossible. I mean, maybe in sessions, sure, but even still, there, because chart reading is interpretive, everybody reads it differently. So my perspective of this chart is not necessarily going to be the same as the next person's perspective. So anyway, there y'all go. There's a little piece of my friend's chart, and I'm fixing to close this up because I can't touch on anything else without going over the time. So I have enjoyed doing this very much, and I hope that this brings a lot of healing for you, my dear friend.